All right, hello again. So we are going to do the next alignment here, which is align LM mode. So open up our column valves here. And click align LM. So again, we only need to do these blue ones. This one is kind of an optional one. That's the word, optional, okay? So let's click basic LM. All right, so it's telling us to use the 100 micron C2 aperture. Again, we've turned off C3 here, which is what we probably want here for doing this. So is this like badly off center here? We'll see here in a minute. Okay, let me see. Okay, so yeah, that's misaligned quite a bit. Don't normally use the 100 micron aperture for much. We tend to use the 70 just as a default, whether we're doing, TEM, STEM, or even LM work. I did a video a while ago about using LM mode on the Techni. I should do another one of those because it really doesn't get the love it deserves, LM mode. So, but it's very useful to do micro scale imaging in your instrument. So, okay. So then objective and SA are out. So we need to check eccentric height. You can press L3 to turn on the wobbler. Okay, you can see we're not really moving, so we are good in at eccentric height. I'm not going to adjust the focus I had set before in LM mode, but if your image looks out of focus here, you can tweak this. So again, just using your focus knob, but we're, it's reasonable right now. So this is 4.2. Okay, so actually what it's doing is it's using the diffraction lens here to focus, not the objective lens. Yeah, so sometimes this can be helpful here. Again, right about there. Again, there's a little leeway with this, obviously, so. Okay, we'll leave it right there. That's fine. All right, center beam, already good and centered here. Now, one thing I've noticed, unfortunately, with this is there tends to be some shift with the mono here. So if we actually check this, it's actually not off by much. Okay, that's good. So I don't know if that was just something with the gun, but yeah, that's actually reasonably centered from before. Okay, great. All right, turn that off. Click next. Okay, stigmate beam. So the beam looks nice and round, so we really don't need to do anything here. But again, if we did, we could toggle to, right, and make the beam circular. But it looks good here. And it's saying if you need to move the beam around to use the trackball. Next. Okay, so now we're doing the rotation center in LM mode. Let me switch to linear to make it a little easier to see. There we go. Straight in and out without any movement. Okay. So this is where we could, change the focus here if we wanted to. This sets your eccentric focus value in LM mode. Okay, so what is that? 331.301? Yeah, so we're focusing with the diffraction lens here. Yep. Yeah, so right about there. I mean, it was not off much from the default there. So, and again, there's going to be some little hysteresis here when you do this. Okay, so that you can see is off by quite a bit. Again, you can do minimum contrast again. It's a little trickier though when you're in LM mode, at least in my opinion. So, all right, so we'll leave it right there. All right. And then it's telling us to focus the intensity and to center the beam. Okay, center beam, adjust beam diameter. Okay, looks good. Okay, doing the rotation center again. And again, when you actually do this, you have a direct alignment for this as well. So this is just setting like a baseline. Okay, we're good there. All right, so now we're into diffraction mode. When you're in LM mode and you go into diffraction mode, this is going to say LAD, so that's low angle diffraction, right? So you can see we're in micro rad here. So normally we're in like millirad when we're talking about like typical D spacing for Bragg scattering, but now we're in very low angles here, okay, which is why this is low angle diffraction. So what you're actually seeing here, you're seeing actually switch to HDR. So these spots are due to the periodicity of the cross grading. So these correspond to D spacings that are in the like hundreds of nanometers, basically hundreds of nanometers into micrometers. Okay, so that's why they call that. Right, and then I'm stigmating this here. There we go. Perfect. That's why they call this LAD. Okay. All right, and then we can align the diffraction pattern. So we don't typically, think about this as a diffraction mode in STEM, but you can actually do this. So again, if you're dealing with like micro scale or near micro scale features, again, this is not actually properly calibrated, but it's in the ballpark. All right, so now we're balancing the pivot points here. We're trying to get the two spots to overlap. There we go. All right. Do the same thing. So that one's off by quite a bit. Okay. I'm going to toggle to R2 to bring the pattern back to the middle. All right. And there we go. So we're going to do this again. Okay, there we go. So this is different. This is for image shift. This is not this is the pivot point for the image shift, which is different than the pivot point for the beam shift. So actually, if we pull up the little help thing, that may help us, no pun intended. Okay, so it's actually not giving us exactly what it's doing here, unfortunately. Pivot point, beam shift, image shift, beam tilt, different. Yeah, so it's not giving us an explanation of the image shift pivot point, but that's okay. All right, we're good there. We're going to switch back into imaging mode. Okay, now we're doing the pivot point. So again, the beam tilt pivot point. So again, this ensures that when the beam is tilted, it doesn't shift. This is what we call tilt purity. And again, there is a direct alignment for this. Sometimes it can be helpful, it's a matter of preference. I know some people like to do this with the beam at crossover. I don't sometimes I find this is easier to do with the beam actually spread out a little bit more. It's kind of a matter of preference. I actually kind of prefer to do it with the beam spread out a little bit more, but that's just me. All right, so do this one here. Okay, looks good. Toggle the beam shift to bring it back to the center. Okay. So now we're doing the last pivot point here. Again, you can, yeah, we can't adjust the modulation here with the focus ring. That's how you usually adjust it, but okay, that looks pretty good right there. If you stare at this long enough, you'll end up driving yourself kind of crazy. So you have to, because this doesn't get completely still, but it's close. All right, so that's off a little bit. Okay. One thing you can play around with too is this exposure time here. Sometimes that can kind of play tricks on you because it's doing an automatic adjustment based on how much signal it's getting. So sometimes it's helpful to uncheck auto and to just play around with this manually. Okay. And then last thing it's going to have us do is the rotation center again. So it's pretty close. Again, after we do all those pivot points, yeah, it's going to potentially need some tweaking. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead here, even though I'm not through all of these, I'm going to update my alignment file. So this was the one we just saved. So I'm just going to click on it and click save, and it's going to update it. Okay, so you can see the new time, 12:24. All right, and then we'll go to the next one here. Oops, sorry. Okay. Okay, so what this is going to do, we don't really need to do this. I think this is already fairly well aligned, but we can go through doing this just so you can see it. So basically what this is doing here is it's going to, we're going to use a recognizable feature in the picture. I can turn this off because I can explain it to you. And we're going to adjust, we're going to make an adjustment to ensure that as we change mag, that feature stays centered. Okay, so what we need is a recognizable feature here. So in the cross grading, this can be a little bit challenging because it's a cross grading and everything is, identical looking, right? So we need to find something here that we can use that we'll be able to see again. So, I mean, there's some, yeah, and this gets really tricky here because, I mean, so there's like a little bit, yeah, see, that's switch to linear, switch to natural. Yeah, see, there's not a good spot on here. Again, we want something that we know for sure we're going to be able to see again. I mean, if there was like an intersection of these lines, we could use that. We don't really have a good intersection. I mean, there's one down here. Okay, so there's one down here. It's kind of in the corner, but even that's not very distinct. What are we gonna do? We need something. I mean, I think this might be probably the closest thing right there, right? We got an X right there. So we'll go ahead and use that. Now, one thing I would recommend here, take a snapshot of this, send it to TIA. Okay, so we know what we're looking for, right? There it is. And that's not a great picture, but that's okay. That's what happens when you take a snapshot to TIA. But at least see if we switch to high contrast. Let's take another one. Okay, that's a little bit easier to see. But anyways, that's what we're looking for here. Okay. All right. So let's see if we can find this. Okay, our beam is centered, so we're good there. And let's go. So we were in SA mode, now we're switching to LM. Okay. So now we have to find the same feature. And you can see, I'm pretty sure that's it right there. So yeah, we weren't really off by much to begin with, thankfully. Yeah, so there's the cross and there's the same cross. So, thankfully we're good here. So this is basically still in the centered. Toggle to beam shift, spread beam, center feature, there it is. Okay, so now what it's going to do, now that we have this feature centered, we're going to converge the beam to a point and center the beam on the feature, and then we're just going to recenter the beam as we change mag, because then we can easily find that, right? Okay, so now we're going to decrease the mag step by step and center the beam every time, okay? So, right, we're already at the highest LM mag mode, so we're gonna go down one mag. Okay, to 1050. And it's basically still centered. So we can tweak this just a little bit here. What it's doing each time we change mag is it's running a normalization as well. So that will help it be repeatable when we actually change mag settings when we're doing imaging. You can actually set the system to not run normalizations. So like certain normalizations, I don't want to say they're redundant. Well, not redundant, but like it's kind of overkill to do them. Like every single time you change mag within SA mode, like you could set it up to run full normalization of your projection system, but that's kind of overkill. I mean, it's a good idea to do that, like if you're changing from SA to MH, but if you're just within SA, it's kind of a little bit overkill here. Here, actually, let me show you so you can see this. So you want to find the panel called normalizations here, okay? And because we're in you know, we're in alignment mode. We're not seeing the whole thing right now, so I'd have to do that at another juncture, if you will. But we'll go ahead here. Whoops, I skipped one. The 260. Anyways, you can see, right, my beam was not having to do much here. I don't know how low this is gonna go mag-wise. I think this will go down to like 50x, something like that. Well, we'll see. Probably the more important part of this is that initial alignment when we switch from SA to LM, like getting that well aligned is probably, well, that's the most critical part in my opinion. I've had actually several people ask me about that. Like I'm switching from, SA to LM and I can't see my feature anymore. What's going on? That's usually what's going on is this alignment needs to be done. And that will most likely take care of it. But again, it can be tricky. Again, if you're using the cross grading sample, right? It can be tricky because everything looks the same. So you have to find that one initial feature to fall back on, if you will. All right, so that's it. LM40X, that's the lowest we can go. I'm going to go ahead and update my alignment file again. And we'll go to the next alignment here, which is the camera links. So basically, this is simply aligning, once we get here, specimens at eccentric height. We already did that. Okay, center beam. We are good to go there. Okay, focus, center pattern. Okay, so basically, we have to do the same thing now in diffraction mode. So we're gonna center the pattern here as we change the camera length. Okay, you notice the camera length we're now in meters here. So okay, and then again, it's telling us we can focus the spot pattern with the focus. What's it actually doing here? It's adjusting the objective setting. Okay. Let me take a snapshot of this just so we have it. Yeah, so it's basically not doing much here. What were we at? We were at 42357. There we go. Okay, so we'll just leave that alone. All right, so we're going to increase the camera length. It's going to run normalization. Again, iterative process. It's already well centered. Yeah, so I'm just going to, at least at these lower mag camera lengths, I'm not going to adjust my focus at all here from my default value that we already established. right? 31 meter camera length. So yeah, that's very typical when you're dealing with low angle diffraction. Again, so now we can, like, again, we play around with this. Yeah, so I think I just left that alone at 5. Where is it? 5, 7. Ah, come on. Yep, okay. So we'll leave that alone. All right, we're closing in on it. Well, not closing in, I should say, but we're missed a step there. 81. Got to be careful with that sometimes as you change your mag knob that you don't overshoot a little. I wish this was kind of push button, but making you twist a knob here. Okay, so whoops, hold on. Thought it was done, it's not. Okay, so there's one. Hold on. Yeah. Why's my mag knob barking at me here? Okay, we did that one. Let's go to 130. Okay. Okay, 170. So we're not done yet. Okay, 210. 270. See, of course, what's happening to my scale bar, right? Is 900 meters. Is that it? 900 meters. Okay, that's it. All right, so again, before we do anything else, I'm gonna click this, click save, and save it. Okay, and I'm not gonna do this next one. This is optional. So, right, let me just click done. All right, and we are good to go. Okay, so there's your align LM alignment. Okay, so the next one I'll do here when I get a minute free is the align LM-TEM mode. Okay, so please stay tuned for that. All right, thanks everybody.